Jerry Hagster from the Hagster Report. I'm wondering if one of you could tell us what's really going on in the states. Secretary Rollins said that the One Big Beautiful Bill provisions should go into effect on November 1st. Can you provide any enlightenment as to how this is actually working with the states, what the state agencies are doing at this point?
Yeah. Do you want to touch on that, Angie?
I can do that. Yeah, I was just in Washington County, one of the counties in my congressional district, about a week ago, and where the SNAP program is actually administered at the county level. And Jerry, what they're having to do is go back through every single recipient and look at, I'll give you a couple of examples of the Big Beautiful Bill changes. Does that individual have children who are younger than 14 years old? Because if they do, they can stay on the program without work requirements. If they don't have children 14 and younger, then they are now subject to the work requirements in the bill. And remember, the House version put the child's age at 7 years old. So House Republicans were going to send single mothers with 8-year-olds back to work, and we're going to let them have to figure out, do I take my $6.20 a day for my child to get them help for food, or am I going to have some sort of health care, child care crisis? It's absolutely stunning. The other change was they raised the age for work requirements in the bill. So literally, from a state level, they are causing so much red tape, burdensome work. And keep in mind, no one who is able-bodied today can stay on the SNAP program for longer than 3 months. This is ridiculous. There are work requirements already. Able-bodied adults can only be on the program for 3 months for a certain period of time. They're already, it is one of the actual most well-designed programs. And remember, the goal is to get people off SNAP in the end. So if that's Republicans' goal, to get them off the SNAP program, to drive them off with all these new requirements, how about they just raise the damn minimum wage and index it to inflation? If you want people off SNAP, how about you help improve their lives so they don't need government assistance? That is not the Republican Party that we're dealing with here.
Well, so there's a lot of things that are going on in the states as they scramble to respond to H.R. 1. They are working very hard to improve error rates, which I think were mentioned earlier. They're not fraud, they're mistakes that are being made in the processing of applications, and, complicated measure, but it's not what people often think it is. But so states are working to improve their systems, to reduce their error rates, to scramble to try and reduce what their additional benefit costs are going to be when this kicks in October 2027. But the administrative costs shift, which is shifting the costs of administrative costs up to 75% for states. It was 50%, is leading to lots of tough conversations across the country in state legislatures about how they're going to fund those additional costs. States have been directed by USDA to start implementing the time limit. So as Congresswoman Craig said, states are figuring out who is now beholden to those time limits and starting to communicate that, and they could lose their benefits within the next couple of months. So there is a lot happening with the states. There's a lot of pressure there, and the states, are just recovering from all the chaos that we had during the shutdown when benefits were withheld.
And then, Jerry, just one last thing there. Look, as you take a step away from that question, remember that document that President Trump once denied existed called Project 2025? Now he talks about it a bit. Two of the architects of that document, who have their own think tanks, Russ Vought and Brooke Rollins, are now in the administration, one running OMB, ignoring the law, ignoring the Constitution, and the other at the United States Department of Agriculture. In that document, they targeted SNAP. They went after provisions in that. And so they said out loud what they were going to do, and now we're seeing the devastation. Make no mistake what they've been up to with these cruel choices. And it started with these think tanks as well.